Sing, let there be on earth. And you can be seated, please. Thank you. And we begin with our invocation. Thank you, Mother, Father, Creator, Source, God. We are glad to be here all together. As we come together, we open our hearts in gratitude for this space and this opportunity, for friendship and our connection to Spirit. And with this, we say, thank you. Take a moment to breathe that in, this space, this community, this earth. Seeking peace, love, and understanding and compassion. Our statement of intent, which explains something about us. We are fortunate to have a variety of speakers for our Sunday services. By using guest speakers, we gain wisdom from all those who share. This is a church where we can worship the God of our own understanding, a place to experience joy and be uplifted, a place where we can come together in strength and inspiration for the coming week. We invite you to join us in this celebration of life, to nourish our spirits, and to enjoy our company together as kindred spirits. Blessed be. Feel that one too. Yeah. You know, I wanted to mention, when we go to the website, the only place it's written is on what I think of as the subject line or the banner across the top, but it says, Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church, providing light for our community. What an awesome statement that was chosen back in the 90s by our people then, who were recreating us as a community church that was moving over since 1913. It had been a spiritualist church. And then, almost 100 years later, we became a community church. And we realized for a longer story than we'll tell here, we would no longer have a pastor. And we would be that. Our board of trustees would lead us. And that's how we come to the people in many of these seats. My name is Carolyn Sheets. I'm the president of our board. And I'm part of a group of a dynamic 8 of us, 5 of us who vote, 3 of us who are emeritus, or we call them extended board members, bringing their history, their thinking out loud together with us. We're doing a lot. We have voted as a community back in 22, I believe it was, that we voted to renew ourselves instead of become something different as we were shrinking and had shrunk in our numbers. So we are in renewal together, and we are grateful. And now I want to also have us turn to our first hymn, which is number 6, one of our favorites, and invited to us by Ellie as well. She didn't realize she was suggesting a song we sing a lot. So let's rise and sing Morning Has Broken. And you can be seated. And we will again turn to our prayer card, and we will read together our principles, which have been reconsidered and reprinted over this last 6 months. And so we will read together. We believe God is the eternal source and creator of all, and is present in everything. Our eternal soul, endowed with free will, grows through many lifetimes. Communication occurs between the physical and spiritual worlds. Prayer and meditation strengthen our connection to the divine. All healing comes from Source. Seeking this for ourselves and compassion for others suffering is the highest priority. Because we are all one, what we do unto others, we do unto ourselves. The choice of love is always open for every soul. Living these principles leads us to grow in divine love. A breath. Living these principles leads us to grow in divine love. We're all on our spiral dance in our own ways. We don't know each other's. We can set down our judgments at every turn. Now we're going to go down to lower on the card, our church affirmation. We're going to say this together too. We totally accept the belief that God is in charge of the affairs and direction of Lake Superior Interfaith Community Church. As our thoughts and joyful anticipation join in harmony with the thoughts of all the members of this fellowship, we attract the right ministerial leadership and people to our spiritual community, and we are grateful. Thank you. Now, a few announcements. We've started having the idea of some workshops. We haven't had very many yet, but we had one last month in April on mediumship right after lunch, and we're going to do that again on May 19th with Emily Christensen, and we will learn a little bit more. We'll have time for questions, and she'll also open herself to receive contacts with our loved ones for 3 or 4 people in the group. And we learn from each other's too. So last time we were 9 people, and it was wonderful. And it gives her a place to share her skills more and gives us all more of an opportunity to participate in and enjoy this tradition that's been part of our church since 1913. Spiritualist churches were always centered by a medium, bringing through messages. And of course, our beloved Reverend Hutchinson was a master. So that's happening on May 19th. And next week, we have an exploration of a new idea that came in, and it's Mother's Day. And it was absolutely resistant to bringing in another speaker. There were 2 different people I had at 2 different times, and they both had to move to a different schedule later in the spring, summer. And so what came to me is for us to explore the idea that maybe we could share together in a very structured way, which we've had a really wonderful time doing in the past with some of the subjects. Like last year on Mother's Day, we shared memories of our own mothers, those who wanted to step up and share that. We're going to use an essay. It's very short, and I've shortened it a bit more, by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, one of our greatest legacy teachers of our time, who is still very active. I looked at her website. She's very active on Facebook and offers prayers for everyone who writes in, and so forth, so on. And we're going to work with her really beloved essay from 2001 called Do Not Lose Heart. We are born for these times. And so we'll have copies of that at lunch for anybody who wants to take a look. And then I'm going to be looking for anyone who wants to take a small part of it or share about some aspect of it. And we're going to explore a different way for us to share together at lunch today. So that's coming up. And we have also one of our most loyal, most servant members, Marky Carlson, is in the hospital, and he's had a surgery, and it's gone well. And it's a long-term issue that has had many other surgeries before. We really want to pray for him. And Sue, our secretary, has brought in a card that she will pass around at the lunch tables for us to write and send to him. So let's really hold Marky close, all of us. And let's hold the whole world and all of us together whenever we think of it, all day long, all night long. But definitely Marky Carlson. And let's see. The next thing we're going to talk about is our prayer bowl itself. And as we know, it's alive 24 hours a day. So at any time, we can place a prayer in the bowl and hold it, and it will receive it. And now at this time, I'm going to ask anybody who has any requests for prayers from our community to come forth where we're on camera and give us a prayer. Give us your prayers.
Just continued prayers for my sister Molly as she is on her chemo journey, that she continue to remain strong and positive as she is in that journey.
Thank you, Carolyn. I had the pleasure of reconnecting with Jan Gagne, who was a long time ago member. I got to see her, and it was so wonderful and special. But she has long-term pancreatic cancer. It's just slow. And anyway, if you would like to continue to keep her in your thoughts, please do, as well as Sarah Paginen, who we've been thinking of for quite some time here now. And can I out you? Her sister Bridget is there today with us. So thank you all.
Anyone else?
You may have remembered I asked for prayers for my son, Mark. He's been going through quite the journey with his issues with his amputation. And we finally got some good news last week. His bone has healed. They are not going to have to amputate more. He is on the mend. And I just want to express gratitude to everyone for keeping him in your prayers. He is in the prayer bowl. And that, so again, thank you so much, everyone, for keeping Mark in your heart. And then I'd also like to ask for prayers for my youngest son, Brian, who seems very fine, but I know is not. He is having some spiritual crises, partly related to what happened with Mark and partly related in his own life. And so my son, Brian Tapper, please put him in your prayers for him to have a spiritual awakening and send him strength. Thank you.
Continued, pardon, I know, continued prayers for Barb Bentz. Yesterday I saw her at the co-op and I'm like, I was so concerned, so depressed. Oh my goodness. And I thought, I'm going to go up to her house. And I had a card for her and I surprised her. And she just seemed to come alive and she just seemed so much better. We talked about her sweet little doggy and I let the poochie outside, went to the bathroom. Oh, thank you. It just kind of changed things. So, and she said that when she gets better and better, she's going to start coming back, particularly to the Unity book study. She used to come to that. So, amen. And so, and of course, Marky Mark. I'm not sure what to say. His daughter kind of implied that he did have the surgery, but I'm not sure. He went down one day and came back the next from Mayo Clinic, and then he's back to Miller Dwan. So Kathleen and I and Jan Pavlich, we're planning to go see him after church to see if we can see him and get an update of good news on our Marky Mark. And I'm so grateful Lita's back here. Lita, keep prayers for Lita, continued recovery, whatever it is, and healing and feeling good. I'll quit at that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, then as always, we bring in Mother Earth, Gaia, on her ascension process, and all of us, and all of the people, all of humanity, all of nature. We're in it together. And we are holding ourselves and we're holding Gaia high in our role in the great spiritual dance of the galaxy and the universe. Amen. Now, we will have some time for silent prayer for a moment. Then I will lead the healing meditation that has asked to come in as springtime. And then we will welcome Ellie, who I didn't remember to do a proper introduction for yet. And we never got the paper because there was trouble with the copy machine. However, what I can say about Ellie Schoenfeld, who has brought some of you here today, is one of our most beloved longtime poets in Duluth. And it is a treasure that she's here. I believe she might have brought some of her books. It is a tradition that I'm aware of going back many, many years, several decades, that many community events included inviting Ellie to read a poem or two or three at the event. And she really has won and been awarded grants and prizes for her poetry. She was a poet laureate of our city back 2016, I think, for 2 years, taking a spell. And just as Gary Bolhover was, who has been a poet who is frequently here. So we are grateful that you're here, Ellie, and we welcome you. And on the website, you will see the full bio with the list of all the things she's done. So with that, my friends, let us bow or hold our heads in our own prayerful posture and move into some quiet time for our prayers in the healing bowl now and that have just been spoken. And all those we have prayed for in the past as well. We all can be here together, all the spirits, all of us here. And let us continue now in our inward awareness, dropping down into our breath, into our belly, into the earth, letting the music come in and begin to carry us inward in our own spiral way. Feeling your posture, feeling the great figure eight that crosses at our heart, looping out into the universe and down into the planet, into this temporary home we come to, this treasure of earth. And now, sparkling, literally sparkling golden scatterlights of joy coming in as springtime, with springtime, as springtime. Feel that in our bodies, in our face, our hands, our arms, our feet in the ground. Springtime with all her glory, her swirl, her softness, her surging ferocity to take her space. And in our own nervous systems, that sparkle flowing through our chi, through the meridians, through the energetic pathways, sparkling, opening, uplifting through this season of renewal for the planet, for nature, and for humanity. Whenever it comes, it brings joy and grace. Feel that dance in your own way with opportunity and pleasure and play. Even if it's in the way we feel our energy as we pick up a coffee cup or a glass of tea. Feel it. Greet it. Not that it's the first time, this season, then greet it again, welcome it again. And invite partnership. Little crocus blooming have already shown us their faces. Daffodils are out, birds are around, the scilla are blanketing yards with blue. The rain, feel the rain coming into your own heart and life, watering, softening, opening. Your chest, your arms, your fingers, your strong legs, made for walking, running, dancing, singing, our voice, the shower of rain, the sunshine finding her way back, or maybe it's his, or maybe it's there. Blessing us. This season that opens all of our hearts in some way or the other. Breathing it in, letting it go, surrendering. And as we do, find your way to have a foot in both worlds. That creative joy of springtime inside in the sparkle. And our dear, dear citizen poet, Ellie, coming to speak to us today.
Well, good morning. It's really beautiful to be here. And when Carolyn asked me to do this, she said that people enjoyed, something, something kind of uplifting, kind of about journey in general, that kind of thing, and some poems. So of course there'll be. So I was trying to go through poems. Sorry, it's definitely spring through the allergy system. So pardon me. So going through my poems, I eliminated all the depressing ones, and that was a good swath. So I was like, okay, well, that cuts it down. And then trying to kind of think of what would be like, autobiography in 12 poems or something. It was pretty funny. I had various little themes and couldn't quite hone in on exactly what to come up with. So I was starting with this little poem. Just a second. I try to get myself quite organized today. So somewhere, there we go. So I'm starting with a little poem, a little introduction of called Exactly. The crow sits at the top of the giant pine. The pine, not exactly a Christmas tree. The crow, not exactly an angel. The song that rises from the stardust in my cells, not exactly a hymn and not exactly not. So that is sort of the story as it stands of the journey and how it goes. So I did kind of land also on the ideas of morning and spring because that's uplifting and because that seemed good. So I'm going to start with a poem called The Morning Calls Us. The morning calls us to fall in love slowly, first with this leaf, then with every other leaf, turned over or not. The morning calls us to feel our hearts race as flowers unfurl their petals with the colors of blind love and possibility. The morning calls us as blades of grass rise up fresh from the mysteries below. Their green tongues sing the songs to call back the spring. The robins respond with stanzas of their own. They build their nests over my doorways like roses to invite the mystics in. They build their nests over my doorways like blessings, mixed blessings, as these nests tend to unravel, to fall apart, to fall down. One year the falling happened before the eggs could hatch. Scattered shards of blue at my feet, bits of empty sky strewn before the threshold. The morning calls us to fall in love, even with the disasters, which we cannot stop, can only witness and hold deep in the secret rows of our hearts. The new day is never only this or only that. We open our eyes after spending a long night lost in darkness. We open our eyes and are invited to fall in love with the morning always inside of us, to keep falling in love with everything, no matter what the daylight reveals, no matter what the new day brings. The morning calls us to fall in love slowly. The morning calls us to open our eyes and to be like the grasses who know all about the darkness, but still rise up anyway to sing the songs that only they can sing. So a quiet audience, so you can always, chime in if you'd like, or, so it's better if it doesn't have to be so formal. Pardon me? Oh. Well, I might get back to it. Yeah, thank you, though. Here's the morning miracle. So, still here. All night, all organs remained intact. The spirit did not stay in the dream world, resisted all pulls to the ethers. The heart did not start marching to a different beat. No blood vessel burst, no system shut down. Still here. The sun rises and the earth has not lost its orbit or its moon. The tides carry on in the seas and in the metaphors. Still here, still here. So it's always sort of amazing, isn't it? Just a second here. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Lots to celebrate. We get to start over every morning. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Oh, I forgot to check the time. Sheesh. Okay. Time is right up there. Okay, good. Okay. Mhm. Silver threads for when we're not totally connected. We're connected to something else. The metaphysically inclined say it is a silver thread that keeps our body and soul connected. Sometimes our soul goes out wandering in desperate need for some quiet time alone, away from the constant thump, thump, thump in the body, the endless swooshing of ubiquitous rivers of blood. Yes, sometimes our soul needs a little break. And though the silver thread is a constant reminder of the body, it's also very pretty, very shiny, something a crow would love. It's like a river, but completely quiet, so that when the soul drifts back, maybe lolling in an inner tube, reading from a book of poems, the always working, always noisy body barely notices a thing, other than it might let the ears listen to the sound of the rain, whose drops are falling like strands of silver against the gray sky, might think for a moment how happy it is just to be alive. Let's see. I feel like I should say something about that poem, but I don't really have anything to say, I guess. So I guess that's. Sorry, I seem to be a little bit nervous, so I don't know why. It's such a friendly group, and there you go. So, yeah. Well, yeah, so. Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. Well, oh, well, thank you. Yeah, no, you're not like a scary crowd or anything for anything. You don't scare me. So. Okay. This poem is called Now and Then. I wish upon the memory of jasmine stars and the way they scented the night before falling off the vines, before falling and falling and falling. Everything unfolds in a different order than I remember having folded it. Surprising origami circumstances. A rosebud opens and a tulip appears. A leaf unfurls and an elephant emerges. An elephant who remembers everything that is going to happen next, but who tells me nothing. The new day blooms and red petals spill all along the horizon, inviting me to believe in the beauty of starting over, of over and over rising up. It was somewhat gratifying when I was going through my poems to find that I do have some uplifting poems, because, the stereotype holds a little bit true about it's like, oh, okay, it's got perky. This was kind of a fun poem to write. It's an old poem. It's a spring poem. It's called An O John Letter. At the Naomi Shiabnai retreat, she says our names contain secret messages, points out hers spelled backwards is I moan. To my chagrin, I note my everyday name wraps up with a lie. My given one has a no in the center. Then I meet you, and you, John, have an O. I am capitalizing the O and adding an exclamation mark because the O of you catches me by surprise. The way a yellow crocus, swollen with life and telling a story ending with us, can still pop up and disorient no matter how long and cold of a winter it has been. Every mile of my drive north turns another page away from this mini chapter, away from your bright shirts blooming over long-sleeved, sensible tees. Home again, I open the door and a flood washes over me, a sea of scent released by the blue hyacinth who opened while I was gone to start singing the song held in its name, Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I loved that idea, though. Naomi Shiabnai, of course, brilliant and, wonderful poet, but that idea of our names, if you look at all the letters, and fun little project. And of course, May is also Bob Dylan's birthday month, so, I wouldn't want to miss that opportunity. So this poem is called Bob Dylan Tries to Come to His Birthday Reading to Have a Little Cake and to let us all know that he really likes us a lot and can't wait to hear our poems. He tries to find his way driving the hills of old Duluth, but a pothole gulps and the car lands somewhere left of Narnia, and now he may remain forever lost. Bob. Yeah. So, this poem is called Miles to Go. Only in Liberia and Myanmar and the United States can you have miles to go. Every place else goes in kilometers. Of course, in order to have a distance to go, one must believe deeply in the ideas of linear time, of back then and now and next, though Einstein and many metaphysical sorts say all of time exists in the same place, though I imagine they still used conventional ideas of measuring it when making appointments with the dentist or to schedule a dinner date. Jung said you cannot measure distance in pints. Swans and fish have their own ways to measure their migrations. Whales and elephants follow the vibrations in their bodies. When a snake sheds its skin, the snake moves along at the speed of its slithering, while its old skin moves at the speeds of rot and decay. Starlight travels in light years. We can tie ourselves in knots trying to figure out nautical miles if we are a certain sort of landlubber, The same amount of wind speed can be called by different names, as can God and quantum mechanics. Fortunately, the wind knows which way it blows, regardless of our words about it. We are sometimes obsessed with measuring our heights, weights, the importance of the tasks on our to-do lists, the measure of the day, the measure of the man, of the woman, of the gender fluid. Time moves or doesn't move according to our varying ideas, but eventually it finds us all on some kind of road along which we are making our way, dreaming of love or loss or dinner, thinking about the miles or kilometers we have yet to go. Wherever we are, time will find us. Time finds us delicious, eats us up. I have a brother and a niece and a nephew who live in New Zealand. And one time when I was visiting there a long time ago, my nephew, who was maybe 10 at the time, he just thought it was hilarious that we don't use the metric system. And he's like, does anyone else in the world not use the metric system? So that's where that poem kind of came from. just like, not much, not many. There are a few, but anyway. Okay. Well, let's see. I think I'm doing okay with time. Summer solstice on the shores of Debussy's sea. I sit on the shores, taste the salt of it, the flavors of the notes, who rise over the horizons of every phrase which has gone before. My fingers run through sands and dreams of castles created and dissolved by the hopes and calamities of tides and time. I sit on the shores, feel the waves toy with my toes, then drench me completely as we play this game of senses in flux until I can hear the way fish hear with their whole bodies swimming through waves of sound. I sit on the shores, inhale whale songs, air filled with murmurings from all the ones who live in the depths and glow in the dark, who send up their lines of radiance, of being in the abyss and finding a way to make light, to shine with a summer that is always rising, breaching the surfaces and splashing its music over every kind of morning. Well, you know, it's gone through various transitions, but it's landed on the Morning, but you know, could be Mournd, of course. Pardon? Right, because otherwise it might be depressing and not uplifting. And morning is more uplifting. It's a morning. No, I'm just. Okay. One of the things I've liked about poems is they can really connect people with each other. So one thing that Deb Cooper, who some of you know, and I did one year, is we wrote over a couple of years. She would send me a poem, I would write a poem in response, I would send it to her, and she would write a poem in response, and just kind of back and forth like that. So it was, you know, it was very fun. I encourage you all to try that. That's pretty fun. We were very low pressure about it. So in the end, it just kind of lifted some different lines from some of hers and some of mine, or some of those ideas. And this poem is called Overheard. And what will you do with all of that moonlight? A rose invites the mystics, opens you into a boldness you didn't know you had. The prophecies of an 8-inch red amaryllis flower in the dead of winter bloom in your hands, those shallow upturned bowls holding everything you need. Black and white keys unlock music, and it's a consolation when the winds of change are finally playing your song. In a world written in stardust, everything glitters. A yellow daffodil is the antidote to a long winter. Birds singing in tongues lick away despair, loud colors and the chimes of petals opening wake up everything important that might have been dozing off. Now what will you do with the smoke and flames of all the poems burning inside of you? Yeah, that was a fun project. Let's see, I had some other thing here. So what did I do with my actual notes? Because I can see as I'm reaching the end here, I've missed things I thought would be good to say or to read about. I mean, well, it is so hard to be organized. I try very hard. It's been a lifelong journey. It's not a very uplifting journey, but but yeah, that's okay. That's okay. I've moved onward. But thank you. Yes. And you know, we all have these kinds of things. So I think that leads into a good poem of ways in which I am thoughtful. Maybe you are thoughtful in this kind of way. Eric thanks me for being late, says it made him feel better as he was late too, but not as late as I was. And I told him he was welcome and that I did it for the express purpose of making him and any other latecomers feel more comfortable because I'm thoughtful that way. And I let him know he could expect a lot more of these sorts of gestures. For example, I'm quite likely to spill or even break something, and I will no doubt at least make a couple of unfortunate comments, which if I'm lucky, I will notice shortly after making and be able to take back to amend. But more likely, the wrongness of said comment will strike me much later, like maybe while I am at work or buying groceries, and the eloquent or awkward, heartfelt responses will play in various versions of the self-recrimination reality show in my head. But maybe then I will think back on how I was late, will hope that my bad behavior will somewhere, somehow be making one of you, by comparison, feel better. You're welcome. Yeah, yeah. And then just a small little segment of 3 short little poems that that I think are kind of funny, and they were created in response to, over in Wisconsin, someplace they do some kind of wonderful art and writing festival. And you go along these different roads to different places for art and food and, you know, different things. It's beautiful rolling hills, I forget exactly where. And along the way, they have poems set up like Burma shave signs. Do you guys remember what Burma shave signs are? And so we had to send in poems of 5 lines. And I've also am kind of entertained by poems that have something else in them. And so at the time, apparently, I thought recipes should be in poems because there was food involved too. So I'm going to read you 3 poems. Picture them on Burma shave signs. Oh, I'm sorry, this one might be a groaner, but I'm going to read it anyway because I think it's kind of funny. Sauerkraut, cheddar, and apples make a good quesadilla. At a potluck, everyone will be glad to see ya. They did not put that one on the side of the road. Yeasts and bacteria, though they be small, evangelize carbs, save us all. They did like that one because they drink a lot in Wisconsin. They do. Politics often make one sad, but a stir fry with kimchi will make you glad. So an important poem for this year, especially, but any time really. So, okay. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for inviting me. Okay.
No, stay here for a second. While Ellie's still here, I want to mention that when we were setting the date, choosing a time frame, just being general about it, whatever, she said, well, I'm going to claim, let's see now, OLP, Old Ladies Prerogative. and and I said, great, what would you like? And she said, oh, I want to be whatever in spring. How about the first Sunday in May? And so how quickly it comes. But I think there are plenty of us, people in this room who can claim OLP, old lady prerogatives, when we feel we need them and deserve them. And, and who would have known it would be a perfect spring day for May? Yes. So thank you, Ellie, so much.
Thank you.
Now, you can come this way, dear.
Okay, okay.
And now we'll have the offering, and thank you, Carol. All right, thank you. And Jerry will give us a short prayer. Oh, thank you. Here you go, Jerry. You hold that.
As we have gathered today, we feel the joy, the energy of the spirits that each of us have for ourselves, but for each other, and feeling that everyone here feels the energy that we've gathered together. The energy of light, compassion, love, peace, and joy of the universe of every creation that we are. And we create the spirits within ourselves every day. So we thank you for all to be in the light and love and joy of our gathering together. Amen, amen, amen.
Thank you, Jerry. And now, my friends, I will bring us our benediction, and we'll gather in our circle and sing our last song. And if you wish, bring your card, prayer card. It is printed on there. God be with you till we meet again. Now, I wish I had an Ellie poem, but I don't. But I have the next best thing, which is a poem from someone else for our benediction. And it's supposed to be right. Here we go. So let us feel this in our hearts. Give us this day our daily journey, the steps that take us into the world and bring us back home. Lure of adventure, comfort of rest, round and round in the holy pattern of heaven and flesh. Blessed be all of us. Let's come gather in our circle. Carol, start playing.